everyone. Tawnya Love Show, and it is a nice November 1st day. I have been away for a while, and so it's nice to be back connecting live with all of you. Hopefully, you guys all had a great Halloween and you've had a good month off, and we'll be back to our connection. And today I want to I'm going to interview and I want to introduce best-selling author May McCarthy, who is actually joining us through audio. A little bit about May. She has a new book out called The Path to Wealth, and it's the 7 spiritual steps for financial abundance. And she's been doing this work since 1982. She's helped grow and start 6 successful companies as large as 100 million in annual revenues, which is pretty impressive. She's a best-selling author, speaker, university lecturer, and angel investor, and serves on many boards. And she's become successful by implementing spiritual principles into her ventures. And she's got a passion for passing that wisdom on to others. So I felt so excited to hear about her and then have the opportunity to interview her to share all her wisdom and nuggets with each of you. So welcome, May. Can you hear me okay? Is May there, Amnon?
She should be.
May, where are you? Okay.
Oh, you know what?
So,
no, she's not.
Did you lose
she's
her call?
not because, okay. I'm going to have to disconnect this. Okay.
Okay.
May, are you there?
So patience, everyone. We're getting back in the saddle, literally.
Okay. May, are you there?
I'm here.
There you go.
Oh, there she is. Could you hear me the whole time?
Nope, I was on hold.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you're back. So I just introduced you, and then I was like, where'd she go? So anyways, I am now introducing May McCarthy officially, and she's best-selling author. And so May and I chatted a little bit before this interview just to get to know each other a bit. And how would you like to start today, May, and just introducing yourself and like what brought you to creating this book, first of all? Like what inspired you?
Oh, Tanya, thank you so much. I actually started writing this book reluctantly.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. It was not supposed to be on my resume. I have had the pleasure and privilege of growing 6 wonderful companies to as large as 100 million in annual revenues, and hire and train and do wonderful, wonderful work out there to, bless our customers and bless our coworkers and vendors. And I never, ever thought that author would be on my resume. But what ended up happening is I was asked to teach some goal attainment techniques based on my spiritual principles.
Okay.
And I got my first metaphysical book when I was 18 from my mother, who was a devout Catholic, which was kind of interesting. But she recognized something in me, and I've been practicing metaphysics and New Thought spiritual practices and brought them into my companies so that we could be the miracle-making companies that you would expect from someone who practices spiritual principles. And I was asked to teach some workshops. And after about the 500th person had gone through the workshop and asked me to write a book so that I could include all the stories of application, I finally decided I probably should do that. And I did.
Awesome. That's awesome. And so how long has it been since you had your book officially published?
Oh, it came out this year. Yeah.
Awesome. And it sounds like it's doing pretty well.
It is doing great. I'm really, really amazed at how many people are really looking for something very, very simple. A how-to that's very simple, but also connects with what they recognize as a spiritual and divine intelligence. In the secular world, I play a lot in the business world. And in the business world, we might use the term intuition. Bill Gates said that often you have to rely on intuition, and Steve Jobs agreed when he said that you actually have to have courage to follow your heart and intuition. And Oprah Winfrey has said that she has listened to that still small voice of intuition her whole life, and the only times that she's made mistakes is when she didn't listen. So
Absolutely.
in this business world, we talk about intuition as a success tool.
Mhm.
And what this book helps people do is craft their goals in such a way and use a morning and daily practice so that their goals are always at the forefront of their thoughts. And that's what enables intuition to show up more often.
Yes. Well, and sort of like we were talking a little bit before about the laws of attraction and where you're placing your focal point is where you're going to be drawing energy. And so that makes total sense in the whole universal law of attraction. You're focusing on the goal, keeping it at the forefront of your mind, and you're having laser beam focus for that intention. So that's awesome. And
Right.
I completely agree with you about the having courage part to follow your intuition. What would you say in your life so far in your journey you've been tested where you've had to have great courage and not really worry about what other people think or, follow what you feel is right?
Oh gosh, all the time. It,
I
this
agree.
in this practice, what I ask people to do is actually partner with that source of intuition, and in this partnership, you have clear roles and responsibilities. So my
Yes.
job in the partnership is to figure out what it is that I want and word what I want with gratitude as though I've already received it.
Yes.
The spirit's job, the source of intuition, or what I affectionately call the chief spiritual officer, the CSO's job is to create the path for me to get to the goal and give me one step to take at a time to get there. So
Yeah.
sometimes, I'll be honest with you, Tanya, sometimes I get a intuitive hit or a message to take a step that makes absolutely no sense at all. But if I take the step, or if I'm too scared or unsure, I just ask for another lead and I generally get another confirmation to take the step. And by the time I get to my goal and turn around and look at the path that I was led on, I just have to shake my head and giggle because I would have never, ever dreamed to take those steps. And a lot of people that don't have a daily spiritual practice or a connection with this divine intelligence will try to tell you that you need to listen to the rational mind, that you need to analyze it and touch it and measure it and see it and
Make
ask
sure you're going
your
to be safe. Yeah.
yes and get confirmation and just do nothing. So I have to have courage every day because my intuitive hits that I get and what I teach people to do does require some courage until you recognize, as Oprah said, that still small voice. You will recognize it as you develop this practice on a daily basis.
Absolutely. And on this show, we've talked about that so much about intuition and listening to your inner alignment and following synchronicity. And it's really, like you say, it's a team effort where you're asking and calling forth your desire, your goal, and then you're watching for the synchronicities. And those are not often logical, I've found. They're very rarely logical, but it can be so magical and fun when you surrender to that flow. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I have a couple of stories I can share with you. One in 1994, one of the ways I've been doing this for quite a long time, for 34 years.
Hmm.
And one of the intuitive messages I got was this sort of flash or picture in my mind's eye of my sister. And I know that that's one of the ways that spirit speaks to me. So what that means is since that thought came into my head, I need to contact my sister. So I happened to be pretty close to her office. And I showed up and she was so happy because she had a computer problem that needed to be fixed. And guess what? I'm free labor, so I could fix it.
Nice.
And as I'm there, she saw this little tiny, I mean, just like a pinhead sized dark spot on the outside of my right leg. And I was born and raised in Hawaii, so I have freckles. And
Mm.
she asked me, "What is that?" And so I, of course, told her it was a freckle. She said she didn't feel that it was a freckle and asked me to contact her dermatologist and make an appointment. And I thought, oh, this is crazy. My rational mind started kicking in, saying, this is nothing. You've had it forever. It's too small. And I was just about to dismiss her fears when my gut wrenched. That feeling in your gut that just says, pay attention?
Yeah.
So my gut wrenched, and I thought, well, what's the harm? I'll make the appointment and go see the doctor. So I did. And while I was there, the doctor agreed with me. He said, it's nothing. It's too small. It can't possibly be anything to be concerned about. Go away. And as I was about to take his advice, my gut wrenched again. And I said, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I need you to cut that out.
Mm-hmm.
So he barely was able to get one stitch in, Tawnya. Barely able. And I came back a week later to a diagnosis of malignant melanoma, Clark's level 3.
Wow.
So intuition saved my life. And it's
Wow.
helped me in business. It's helped me with relationships, every area of my life. My book is called The Path to Wealth, but my definition of wealth is being whole and complete, lacking nothing in every single area of your life, not just your finances, but every area.
I absolutely agree with your definition on wealth. I think too many are focused on thinking that wealth is just about what's in your bank account, but it's everything. It's your relationship with yourself and source, your relationship with others. It's like how happy and healthy you are. I completely agree. Well, that's
Absolutely.
awesome that you have learned to listen. I am glad. And hopefully we all will, yeah?
I hope so. Albert Einstein had a really great quote about this. He said that the intuitive mind is a sacred gift. We all have it. It's a wonderful gift. And the
Yes.
rational mind is this faithful servant that will, our subconscious and our rational mind will do whatever we tell it to do. But
Yes.
somehow we've created this society that really honors the rational mind above the intuitive mind. And,
Indeed.
we're constantly barraged. I mean, think about it. We have billions and billions and billions of pieces of data that are being thrown at us every single day. And we get to choose what to focus our attention on. If we don't get intentional about focusing our attention more of the time on what we want to experience,
Mhm.
then we're going to be sucked into whatever the race consciousness focuses on, which is really not what people want. What they want is a really good life,
You
not
got it.
this doom and gloom.
You got it. And that's something where, like, have you seen the movie Tomorrowland? I've mentioned that on the show many times, where she talks about feeding, you choose which wolf to feed, the wolf of doom and gloom or of hope and love. And, I feel that is so each of our responsibility is where we place our focal point is the world we're creating together, co-creating. And that collective consciousness you're speaking of is insane. And so, yeah, I feel like we're all healing that in ourselves to really honor the intuitive side and to see that that's not crazy. It does come in a more abstract way a lot of times, but that doesn't mean it's not very powerful and something to be honored. So I
Absolutely.
completely agree with you. It's interesting because you were talking about, intuitions and listening and how sometimes you have to have courage to do that. And we just returned from Hawaii. I was in Kona for a week and I was feeling really off and just like, what is wrong with me? My stomach was not feeling good and I just didn't feel like myself. And been going through a lot of changes with my husband moving out and relationship change and all that. But it was interesting because I was just like, I have to go into meditation. I have to just go be still. And I went in and I was asking my angels and higher guides, like, what is going on? I just feel like I'm dying. And I'm like, is everything okay? And what I was shown was a vision of the sun and solar flares. And I was shown that they're hitting the planet very intensely and that I'm very sensitive. I'm feeling it. And I'm like a human lightning rod. I'm just getting pounded with this energy, the new frequencies. And this stuff sounds like craziness if I just, oh yeah, guys, this is what's happening. And I'm comfortable now just speaking this way. But that's what I was shown. And then I told William about it. And he's like, well, let me go check it out. And he's looking on the science side to see what's going on the planet. And sure enough, it was like the most intense we have been hit with solar flares all year while we were in Kona. And the locals were even saying they were hitting record highs, like with the heat wave and everything. And so this is like another aspect for me. I've learned to just speak that transparently, even if others are like, she's cray cray. Like that girl, what's she talking about? She's feeling solar flares. But truly, I feel like this intuitive nature that we have is something that's in our instinctual self that is there for helping us survive and helping us thrive and helping us understand the universe that we're very much one with. Would you agree
Mm.
with that?
I would. I mean, I'm a big believer in that there is one spirit, and we're
Yeah.
all part of it. And
Yeah.
lots of analogies that have been given are, it's a tree with a bunch of leaves, or we're all. Another analogy is it's an ocean, and we're all individual
Yes.
waves. I mean, so that
Yeah.
just so we can wrap our head around it. And
Yeah.
here's what amazes me. What amazes me is how we limit this divine creative intelligent source to only what we can think of as possibilities. And let me explain to you
Right?
what I mean about that. In the practice that I teach in my book, The Path to Wealth, 7 Spiritual Steps for Financial Abundance, the practice that I teach really focuses on you not trying to do spirit's job anymore. Your
Yeah.
job is to figure out what you want and be grateful for it in advance. Spirit's job is to create the path and give you one step to take at a time to get there. Now, it
Yes.
stands to reason that there are going to be some intuitive leads or some messages or signs that spirit gives you through all sorts of different vehicles of spirit. So it could be through other people, it could be through signs, could be through thoughts that fly into your head, it could be through your physical gut, your heart. It could be a number of different
Through
reasons
books
because
that are introduced on a show.
exactly. It could be. But
Yeah.
what we try to do is if it doesn't make sense, if we haven't thought of the steps along the path to take to get to the goal, then we disregard it. And how arrogant that is of us to think that only what we can think of is possible. And I'll give you another example of what I'm
I
talking
completely
about.
agree, girl.
Yeah, and I mean, here's a great example. I travel. In my last company, I travel about 150, 175,000 miles a year. I mean,
Wow.
I'm used to it. I got it down.
She
I
likes to
fly.
travel.
No, it's what new companies require. You have to
Yeah.
go where the business is. So I land at a airport, I get my rent a car, I drive to the hotel, I drop off my bags, and then I get back in the car and I go to the closest grocery store so that I can buy my water and my protein shakes and the things that I need for my stay. Now, in every city that I've been to, I know where the closest grocery store is. And in Cleveland, the closest grocery store is 5 minutes away from the hotel. So as I'm in the car getting ready to drive to the grocery store, I get this very, very strong thought of a grocery store that's 15 minutes away. And I think to myself, my immediately, that rational mind that Albert
She's like,
Einstein,
but that's 5 minutes. Yeah.
right. So the rational mind starts popping in saying, May, that's a silly, silly thought. What are you doing, girl? Come on.
Yeah.
It's 9 o'clock at night. Your appointment's at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. That's 5 o'clock in the morning, Seattle time. Why do you want to waste more time by driving 15 minutes when you can just go 5 minutes? So my rational mind is trying to talk me out of it because it doesn't make sense. So here's what I ask my readers to do and my workshop participants to do. I ask them to just say out loud, stop, I need another lead. If this is from you,
Nice.
CSO, I need another lead. Well, then my intuitive mind starts kicking in. And my intuitive mind says stuff like, well, it's only 20 minutes extra. And really, it's 6 o'clock in the evening in Seattle. So you're not going to be ready to go to bed anyway. And who knows, maybe the water and the protein shakes and things like that will be on sale.
Yeah,
So
they'll be
you'll
on
have a,
sale or something. I was gonna say
yeah,
that.
exactly. So just make the drive. So I did. I parked the car, and as I'm walking into the grocery store, there was a guy walking out at exactly the same time who I met 6 months before at a trade show. He represented another hospital system that was very large in Cleveland, and he was not returning any of my phone calls for an appointment.
Mm.
So we
So
strike
you
up.
had to go and meet him face to face.
Right. Well, see, this is what spirit does. Spirit
Yeah,
guides you. So we have this conversation, and before we end, he says, why don't you come see me during your trip, and we'll let you make a presentation. Well, that presentation led to another presentation, and it led to another presentation, and then finally a contract. Now, my
nice.
goal in my CSO practice, which I teach in the book, is to write down your goal as though you've already received it. And my goal at that particular time was to have a minimum of $400,000 in revenues to my company during this particular period of time. Well, this new contract represented over $500,000. So
Nice.
here's the key. Would you have ever dreamed up a path that would make you drive to a grocery store at 9 o'clock at night as part of your goal attainment strategy? Of course not.
Exactly.
Of
Exactly.
course not. So
And
we
that's
just
where
have
we
to,
have to get out of the way, right? Like our logical minds get in our way of the swiftest, smoothest path a lot of times.
we do. We just have to get out of the way. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, the way you're describing that grocery store, I had a very similar one in Hawaii where I found my soulmate dog, Honey Girl, and she was outside of a grocery store, and it was a very synchronistic, flowy trip where I felt my heart just calling me to Maui. It was nothing, it was not like, oh, I just want to go to Maui. It was like, my heart was like, you must go now. And when I went there, a few days into the trip, I actually found her, and she was a dog that was my past dog reincarnated as Honey Girl. And it was like such a beautiful synchronistic flow, but made no logical sense. And then once I saw her, I'm like, that makes sense. Now I totally understand why I'm in Maui, you know?
I love
So
it.
I think it's so magical. Like, I can tell you and I live our lives very similarly. You are mirroring to me, though, so many of my new goals I have with my career. And so I'm just like, thank you, universe. You're bringing it so close to me. So it's on its way. But I feel like that flow and the moving with the mystery and setting your clear intention, it's so that's the same thing I work with my clients on, is just like they have to get clear on their intention, and then they have to let spirit come in and assist them. Stop thinking you own it and you have to make it happen, because we really get in the way.
Yeah, you need to definitely stop trying to make it happen because it's so much
Yeah.
better. I love all of those old sacred texts, including the Bible, where they talk about things like, Red Seas parting and water coming out of rocks and food falling from
Miracles.
heaven. You know,
Yeah.
this practice that I teach, I mean, I'm used to, I call myself a self-proclaimed efficiency expert. I don't like to waste time.
Me
So I
either.
I teach
I
what I
totally
teach.
agree.
Yeah, and what I teach is a very, very efficient use of time, but very, very productive. And if people would be willing to take on this partner, one of the things I ask them to do is imagine for just imagine for a moment that Bill Gates called you up. And Bill Gates said, Tanya, I know you have some goals that you want to reach.
Mhm.
And if
Dude, that
you'll
would be
meet,
so awesome, by the way. I'd be like, hey, Bill, I've been waiting for your call.
okay, so he calls you up.
Finally.
And he says, Tanya, I want to help you achieve your goals. So every morning for 25 to 30 minutes, you and I are going to get connected and you're going to tell me about your goals. But I don't want to know what you want. I want to know describe it for me as though you've already achieved it. Okay,
Yes.
describe that for me as though you've already achieved it. And then throughout the day, I'll give you some advice on some steps to take to achieve your goals. Would you be willing to meet with me every morning to do that?
Yes. Actually, what you're saying, that's exactly what I've done with friends where we play, we make believe it, and we'll talk. Like, if you can find a good friend or a life soul coach or mentor like what you're offering, it's so powerful to play and just talk in your joy about your goals if it's already here. It's so powerful. So, yes,
Right,
I would be down. I will talk with you and Bill.
right. So if you would be willing to meet for 25 to 30 minutes every morning with Bill Gates, who's going to give you advice to achieve your goals. Well, my goodness, do you realize that the creator of Bill Gates and the creator of this entire universe and the all-knowing infinite intelligence and power in this universe beyond anything that we could possibly imagine
Yeah.
wants to meet with you for 25 to 30 minutes every morning and be your partner in business and in life. And if you
Yes.
will just tell this partner, and you can name it, you can name that characteristic of spirit that guides you and directs you in intelligent ways to achieve
Yeah.
your goals. You could name it. In my
Yep.
workshops, I get all sorts of different kinds of names. People will call it God, spirit, love, peace, infinite intelligence, all-knowing power. I even have some that call it Fred,
Dorothy. Yeah.
Dorothy.
Well, yeah, and I know people who have like their spirit guide and they'll feel like that's their main guide. And I feel like what they're really saying is that they have given a name or felt a name of a presence that they trust and is their highest self guiding them. So,
I love it.
yeah, we have all different ways we can name it. I
Hmm.
totally agree with you.
Yeah,
It's
it's
beautiful.
it's
Well,
really easy.
well, let's just say like you being on the show is not a coincidence because I have very powerfully been calling forth my goals to travel the world and to work as a corporate shaman. And my partner and I, we've been very much focused on, calling forth this goal and just seeing it as if it's already real and how we met each other. And it's just when I saw that you came popping into my email, like, this is someone that's a potential author you could interview. And I was like, oh, that is like one of my girls. Like, I would love to talk to her. And so everything is so magically working out for the bigger picture of all of our co-creative dreams and goals. And it's so exciting. Like if you just can get in that feeling and flow of eagerness and excitement, it's just you're magnetizing all of it to you. So I feel like you are the embodiment of the beauty and the dreams and everything of goals that I am actually calling forth. And you're like right in front of me, May. And it's
Oh,
awesome.
well, thank you. Thank you. I
Yeah.
love being
So, and
somebody's
I bow to your
demonstration.
courage for writing that book because I feel the same guidance to write it. And you helped me because you're like, I just said I will do it, but just make it easy. Like, is that what you said? Like, make it easy. Like, you didn't want it to be a pain. And I'm the same way. I'm like, just help me out. Make it easy.
Oh, I tell you this, the writing of the book was a really interesting journey. I was asked, like had told you earlier, by many of my workshop attendees to please write a book because in the workshops that I teach, and people can go to maymccarthy.com. That's
Yeah.
MAYMCCARTHY.com and find, where I'm going to be speaking and teaching. In fact, I'm going to be in Hawaii later this month.
Yay. Where are
Uh,
you going?
to Unity in Kaneohe on Oahu.
Oh, perfect. Nice. I
Yeah.
love Hawaii. I just got back and I miss it.
Oh,
So
well,
beautiful. I'm going to live there one day. I'm going to live there part of the year. You watch.
good for you. Good for you.
Yes.
Yeah, I spent my first 18 years there, living full
Did you
time.
live in Oahu?
I did on a beach called Kailua.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great. So anyway, these people had asked me to please write a book because the stories that I tell about applying the principles in the workshop aren't located in the workbooks that I gave them. So I
Hmm.
said, okay, I'd be willing to do this. I checked in with my CSO. Is this something that I should be doing? Is this a way I could be of service? Is this going to meet my goal to elevate prosperity and freedom in the world? And
Yes.
I kept getting a resounding yes. So I started asking for leads, and that's part of the practice. And I was introduced to somebody that had an online marketplace for putting together editors and other talent with new writers. And so I was able to find a developmental editor. And then I went to some workshops. And I have to tell you, Tanya, I heard so many first time authors complain about how hard it is to get a publishing deal if you're a first time author.
Careful
And
with your words, right? Word power.
well, I don't doubt that that was their experience, but I immediately had a meeting with my CSO and I said, no, 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 no. If this is something I'm supposed to do, then it needs to
Yeah.
be easy and joyful.
Easy and efficient and flowing. Oh yeah, I totally am
Right.
understanding that.
Exactly. So I started writing. And then I got this really strong flash of this woman that goes to a center for spiritual living that I go to. And I got this flash, and I'll be honest with you, Tanya, I didn't do anything about it. I waited a day, but I had to go to this meeting the next day, and she was there. And while she was there, she asked for volunteers for a 10-week course. And I looked at my calendar, and it's not very often that I have 10 Mondays in a row during the evening free, but I did. So I said yes. And
Nice.
I figured that was why I thought of her. So in that course, I met somebody else who had published their book, and they did self-publishing. A week later, after talking to him about his book, he somehow tracked down my email address and sent me a notice about a workshop that was coming up in December. So I signed up for the workshop, and at the workshop, I met a president of a publishing house. And I'll tell you, Tanya, I was totally and completely out of my league in this workshop.
That's so perfect. Isn't that fun?
Oh my gosh, I was sitting there with about 18 people, and there were Hollywood producers, radio show hosts, PhDs, MDs. I mean, you name it, people that have been published multiple times, and me. And I felt like,
Nice.
okay, what
You
am
have
I doing?
entered the golden circle.
So I'm in this workshop thinking, oh no, I am so out of my league, and this is, but I feel like I was led here. I took the step and I signed up for it, so I'll just finish the workshop. Well, at the end of the workshop, the president of the publishing house gave everyone his assistant's email and, the normal pat response, which is, if you have any questions, contact my assistant.
Yeah, yeah.
So the next day was a Sunday, and I come out of service and I look at my phone, which has email on it. And who should have sent me an email but the president of the publishing house?
Nice.
Hi, hi, I'd love to talk to you about your book. Well, my manuscript wasn't even finished. And after taking his workshop, I had to restructure the entire thing.
Mhm.
So we got on a call later in the week, and he wanted to read my unfinished manuscript, and I told him that I couldn't send it to him because I went to this really great workshop and I needed
And he's like, where you're like, I need to make that a little nicer.
exactly. So I promised to send it to him in 2 weeks, and I did. Well,
Nice.
then a month later, he contacted me and he said, well, I wanted everyone in my office to read what you wrote and to practice what you described as your 7 spiritual steps.
Nice. He like tested it out.
30 days.
Nice.
And everyone had success with it. It's
That's
really easy to do. Everyone can experience more of what they want in life simply by being more focused on what they want with gratitude
hmm So
and
speaking
letting.
of that, can you go into some of the 7 steps? Do you want to share a
I
little like
sure
nugget of each
can.
one?
I sure can. The first 4 steps happen in the morning. So you wake up, and I don't know about you, but I like something hot to drink when I first wake up. So
Got
I
my tea right here.
Yep. So
Yes.
I snuggle in with my cat, and the first step is to spend 5 minutes reading something that puts you into a receptive mood. And I have some suggestions in the back of my book. My very favorite book for step number one is The Game of Life, which was published in 1925 by a woman named Florence Scovel Shinn.
Hmm.
And she is a metaphysician. I mean, she's brilliant. She's really, really something. And what
To check her
she
out.
and other authors like Catherine Ponder and others do is they have these very short stories about ordinary people having extraordinary experiences with spirit operating in their life. So that puts you into a receptive mood. The
Yeah.
next step, step number two, is going to take up to 10 minutes. And that's when you write a letter to your spiritual partner. So you would say something like, Dear CSO, thank you so much for all these things that I have. Thank you for my good health. Thank you for my husband and my cat and our beautiful home and all these things that you have. And
You just
then
ignite your day with gratitude. That's perfect.
Yep. And then thank you for all these things I want, but you're wording it as though you already have it. Now we're
Yes.
coming up to the end of the year, so you're probably going to hear people say things like, oh, I really want to lose 10 pounds.
Right? Hear that
Right?
all the time. Yeah. And every
Right.
magazine will be showing us that we should anyway.
Right. So if you really take a look at that statement, I want to lose 10 pounds. My goal is to be wanting to lose 10
So you
pounds.
will keep wanting it.
Yeah, and you'll never get there.
I so
So
agree
when
with you on that.
Yeah, so a better way to word that would be to say, I'm so grateful. Thank you, CSO, that I am physically fit and trim, toned, energetic, in a pain-free, healthy body that easily goes on walks and hikes with my family and friends, and we have a great time.
Yes.
So you describe what you want as though you already have it with gratitude. So that takes 10 minutes to write out that letter. And then the third step takes up to 5 minutes, and you read what you just wrote out loud with emotion. And when you read something out loud, it anchors it more deeply within you. So not only are you having a spiritual component that's going to help guide you towards your goals, but now your subconscious is kicking in because it wants to help you make those statements true. So
Yes.
with gratitude, you're lighting up that front part of your brain to notice more possibilities that show up. It's sort of like a filtering mechanism that helps you to notice what steps to take along the paths to your goals. And then finally, the last 5 to 10 minutes to make the 25 to 30-minute practice in the morning, the last 5 minutes is for the imaging part. You will close your eyes and see yourself in those realized goals. See
Yes.
yourself going on that hike or that walk with your friends and laughing. See yourself in that beautiful home where your family and your friends gather and have just a great time. See yourself using your talents and skills in that remarkable job where you are so happy and you love working with your coworkers and you feel valued and appreciated by your company and you're paid more than you've ever been paid before. So
Heck yeah.
see yourself in those realized goals, and that ends the morning part of the practice. So go
And
get
then
ready
let
for
it go to the
work.
universe.
Exactly. And
Hmm.
then finally, throughout the day, you're going to do the next two steps, which is really just expecting and watching for leads or messages to show up where you
Yeah.
can take a step or ask for another lead. This is where we get in trouble a lot, Tanya.
Yep.
We will get an intuitive hit, and if it doesn't make sense, we do nothing. You're not allowed to do nothing anymore.
Nice. Well, and would
You
you
have,
say, like, one thing I've seen with so many, because I would say the collective consciousness, a lot of them are very connected to religion and like praying, and they know that there's something about praying. But I see this a lot where we're calling out, we're doing the calling out part, but we just keep calling out and we're not quiet and receptive to receive. And so that's like where you're saying you're in the first part of the morning, you're calling out, you're expressing to the universe your desires, your goals, and then it's so key like you're suggesting is to be still and like be receptive, and like you, I totally agree with you, expecting the miracles, like looking for the magic, and
yeah,
oh, there it is, let's go. That's so
exactly.
key, and I feel like that's so important that people get that, because so many are good at the calling out but not the listening and receiving.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And until this becomes a new habit for people, they're going to
Mhm.
have to just ask for another lead. They're going to see a sign. They're going to hear something that
Yeah.
somebody says that is meaningful to them. They're going to see something. I've even seen stuff written on billboards that have been
Yeah.
messages for me.
Oh
Or
yes.
they'll feel something in their gut or have a thought, a really strong thought that feels like it came from, out of the blue. But
Yeah.
they either can take the step as the lead is telling them to do so, or if they're unsure, if they're scared, if they really, really don't know if that's spirit or if that's, just some wild thought that they have,
Some
then just,
distraction.
yeah, just stop and say, if this is from you, CSO, I just need another lead. You'll always get one. You'll always get one. And then
I
as soon as you
completely
feel
agree with you.
confident, take the step.
Yeah. Well, and from a perspective of, because I'm an angelic healer, and so tuning into others' energy fields and listening to their guides bring, I mean, my whole life is built around intuition. And one thing that I have found is, like, in the day, if there's something like you're saying where you're not sure, I consistently and constantly am asking for my angels to bring me clarity and understanding. And if there's something like they're bringing me and I'm like, whoa, you're blowing my mind, angels. Like, are you sure that's what you're telling me to do? Like, bring me more confirmation and it will come. And
Yeah.
so I absolutely agree. And sometimes you might be nervous. And like, I remember being told for years when I would ask, my guidance would tell me to leave a marriage, that for years I was terrified to leave. But when I look back, I know how many times that consistent, synchronicity and signs would show up, and they got more and more powerful. And finally, I had the courage to listen. But it's really not that the universe isn't talking to us, it's always guiding us. It's just a lot of us are terrified to actually listen and to let go of thinking we're in control of our plan.
Yeah.
Like, I got a plan. And often the universal plan is not, our highest, when you're talking about being efficient, if our soul is desiring an evolution and growth, we have to surrender to that higher flow and trust the universe wants that for us. And sometimes it will challenge us to release things that are no longer serving us, or to move in a whole entirely different direction. And so, yeah, I totally understand what you're talking about. And I think it's beautiful. And I just hope everybody listening today really is getting it and will get your book and will practice it consistently, because it will really make magic happen in their life. I know it.
I just love that I'm hearing confirmation that you also receive and follow leads. And I know that a lot of people that I meet for the first time at workshops, they hear so many stories from people like you and me and
Hmm.
spiritual leaders and stuff about, recognizing and following leads. And because they don't seem to see a pattern in their own life of being able to do that, they get a little gun shy, a little scared. And my
Yes. Or they'll compare to, have you ever had people compare to you where they're like, oh, but you're just gifted or you're just special? And I'm like, no, I'm just here to mirror this to you. We all have this ability. We all have um, this opportunity to live like this. But I think sometimes they'll kind of push it away, like, oh no, you can live the magic, but I have to stay in the box,
yeah.
It's like, no, not really.
Yeah, they don't. And so what this daily practice that I teach does, I ask all of the workshop attendees and everybody that reads the book, try this for 30 days as written. Don't try and analyze it. Don't try and reason through it. Just
Just
do it as
play.
written, as for
Yeah.
30 days. And what that will do is help you to recognize those times when you get a thought, you expect and watch for leads, you get one, and it still doesn't make sense to you, so you just stop and ask for another lead. And as you do that, you'll start to decipher how spirit speaks to you. So
Hmm.
that's the fifth step throughout the day. And then the sixth step is, if you get a lead and you take a step, celebrate. Find
Woo!
someone in your network of friends and family that can be your celebration partner. And if you're not in close proximity, then maybe agree to text each other, when something good happens, text each other
Yeah.
the word celebrate, so that you can get on the phone or get together in person and celebrate properly. But what that does is it also lights up that frontal part of your brain, and it starts to build this habit, so that as you expect and watch for leads, knowing that when you get one and you act on it, you get to celebrate, you're
Yeah.
conditioning yourself to want to do that more often because it's fun.
Well, and
And then,
laws of attraction, you're totally magnetizing all that good to you because you're so focused in that joy, high vibrational, energy of joy and gratitude and celebration. This is why I think some people that just, it's like people will go, God, does anything bad happen to you? Like, everything good happens for you. And it's not because you're, born in a special family or anything. It's just, these are the souls that they just radiate light and love and gratitude. And so, it's like they can't really have things go wrong because they don't even if something looks like it could be a kind of like a glitch, they'll find a way to smooth it out and make it magic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
I do.
I
I
totally
do.
agree with the celebrate. And I think you should
Right?
be very discerning too, because in my life, I've learned there were people I was surrounded with growing up in a very poverty consciousness mind, or poverty consciousness. The family consciousness was very much in poverty and lack, and I was not like that. I was very much like, wait, we can have anything. There's abundance. It's unlimited, and I have learned personally to be mindful who you share your celebrations with and your dreams with, because if you keep taking them to, let's say, mom, who's a total naysayer skeptic, it may just keep squishing your dream, and then you start to believe in mom's fear. So would you agree with that, May? Like, you should be really careful and be joyous and mindful of who you share that celebration with, someone who's going to really play with you and get excited.
Well, I'm a huge believer, an absolute huge believer in that abundance and prosperity are available for everyone. I really
Me
am.
too.
And and
Yep.
and and although if I think that someone gets upset because they haven't decided to give up their stuff or they
Yeah.
haven't decided to change their mental equivalent to accept and receive more good into
Yes.
their life, then I'm
Which is
just
what
going to
it
be
all comes down to.
our job here is to love. That's what we're to do.
Yes.
We're to love. And so I will be, you're right. Tanya, I will be mindful if I know that when good demonstrates in my life, if it's hurtful to someone else, then my job is just to love them. That's all my job is to do. And if they see light somewhere and they get tired of living the way they're living, because you've been so loving to them, they may reach out to you and say, Tanya, could you tell me what you're doing so that
Yeah, that's exactly how it works.
maybe I could try it too. And I want to
Yes.
get to the last step. Okay, so you've done
Perfect.
all 6 steps and now you're ready for bed. You brushed your teeth, you washed your face, you're ready to go to sleep. And what you do is you just lay there in bed and you say, Spirit, CSO, Divine Intelligence, God, whatever you call it, thank you. Thank you so much for whatever is on the top of your head. Thank you for all the parking spaces I got in front today. I love that. And thank you so
Yes.
much for the great customer interactions. And thank you for the absolutely amazing time that I had with a new friend, Tanya Lev, on her show. I mean, how wonderful. What a great day today was. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And the second part is to get rid of or give forth anything that is taking up room within you that could be replaced with more of the good things that you want. So anything that's taking up room that's not serving you, you want to give that forth so that you can make more room within you to receive the good things that you want. And here's the part about this second part of the 7th step. You don't even have to believe it. You just have to read it out loud every night. And it goes like this. CSO, if there's anyone at all from my past or present, whether I remember them or not, that I need to forgive, I now do so. I love them, I bless them, I forgive them, and I release them into your care, knowing that you are working in and through them in whatever way is best. And if there's anyone from my past or present, including myself, that needs to forgive me, they now do so, and we are free. Thank you for a great
That is
day. I love
beautiful.
you. Good night.
Yay, that is so truthful. Like, I have experienced that myself where everything's going good, and then if there's some kind of glitch energetically with someone projecting anger, hatred, and you can't make other people evolve where they're at, but you can love them and release them. And that's beautiful. A beautiful way to end your day.
Right, and this does not condone anyone else's behavior.
No.
It really
And
doesn't.
it doesn't mean you have to hang out with them if they're abusive either. It just means you release their energy with love.
This is purely a goal attainment strategy.
Hmm.
If you think of yourself as this human vessel that has so much room,
Yeah.
and if you're choosing to fill up some of that room with anger, resentment, unforgiveness, pain, hurt, then that's room that's being taken up by those things instead of the really cool things that you want, which are harmonious relationships, right work,
Yeah,
abundance, money, freedom, um, use of your skills and talents in remarkable ways. If you're filled up with stuff that's not serving you, you can't receive more of the good things that you want. So you have to give that forth. You
I
have to
absolutely
give
agree.
it forth. Yeah.
That's
So
beautiful. And
those are the 7 steps.
I seriously, I have not read your book, but I would love to read your book at some point just to support you and to see it. But I just everything you're saying, I if you look at any of the shows from the past year and a half, this has been like the angelic messages that come through me is about self-love, forgiveness, tuning into spirit, asking for the guidance, listening for the synchronicity. So it's like you just wrote the book for everything that I've been doing too, May. So thank
Oh,
you. It's
oh, how
awesome.
wonderful. Well, if people go to my website, they'll be able to download the first 3 chapters free. So
Nice.
the website
And
is May
okay, you're gonna
McCarthy.
say it. Go, go, go. Sorry.
Okay, it's maymccarthy.com. That's www. May, M-A-Y, McCarthy, McCarthy.com.
Nice.
Well,
Yes, and you
Tanya,
guys,
thank you
those
so
of you,
much.
yeah, and all the people that I know that I have had people call in and write in and they, have lack and fears and I don't have enough money, Tanya. You guys need to really take this moment and realize you've been asking how to get more abundance, how to manifest more wealth, more joy, and the universe is talking to you. So go and check out her website and read the book. But like she's saying, like May is giving all of us a suggestion is to practice this because it doesn't matter how many books we have on the shelf. If we're not putting them in practice, then they're just books collecting dust on the shelf. So it's all about the practice, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And I think it's so beautiful. And I'm so grateful to have been able to connect with you today, May. And I hope this leads to other beautiful connections. And I just feel like, you know, everything is really beautifully synchronistically flowing in our world right now. And we just need to ride the wave and trust that the universe totally loves us and wants good for us. And we just need to become more clear of what we really need and what we really desire. And then expect that. And like you're saying, get rid of all that distraction, all the old anger and resentment that's dragging you down. It's not where we're evolving to. I feel like we're becoming lighter in every sense of the word. Would you agree?
I agree. I absolutely agree.
Yes. Well, it's so beautiful. So, what would you like to say for the final? Because we've got about 8 minutes left. So, would you like to share anything else? Any other stories or anything before?
I actually do have one more story I can share.
Perfect. Yeah.
And that is when people are deciding on what it is that they want, they have to be specific enough in describing it. And I'll give you an example. In one of my workshops, there was a woman she's darling. I mean, just this darling, darling woman who was clearly retired, but wanted to still use her talents in remarkable ways. So I asked her, what is your goal? And she said, my goal is to be spiritually creative. And so I smiled at her and I said, could I use you as an example? And she said, sure. So I turned around and looked at the other people that were there, and there were about 80 people in the workshop. And I said, all of you that can give her advice on being spiritually creative, I want you to raise your hand. Not one person rose their hand. Not one person raised their hand. So I turned around and I looked at her and I said, if we as expressions of spirit can't figure out what that means, then maybe spirit can't help you either.
Yeah, it's
So,
like a little too vague up here.
yeah, so I want you to do a little experiment and we'll come back to you a little later. I want you to imagine laying in bed at night and you've got this grin on ear to ear. You are just so excited. You just want to pop. You're so excited. And you know that you just met your goal of being spiritually creative. What happened? So we came back to her later and she says, I've got it, I've got it. And she really did look like she wanted to pop because she was so excited. And she said, I've got it. I said, okay, what's your goal? She says, well, to be spiritually creative, I now have my artwork hanging for sale in a minimum of 15 locations. And my artwork is on cards for sale and t-shirts. And I make a minimum of $3,000 extra in income per month. But here's the best part. Every week, somebody contacts me and tells me that they saw my artwork and it inspired them to create their own. That's reaching my goal of being spiritually creative. So I turned around and I said, class, how many of you can give her some advice? Who could tell her where to get cards printed or where to get silk screening done on t-shirts or maybe a place that she could hang her art for sale? Who can help give her some advice? Every hand went up. So when you're
That's perfect.
describing when people are describing their goals as though they've already achieved them, they really should use that technique of pretending that they're laying in bed with a big grin on, ready to pop because they're so excited
Yes.
because they reached their goal. Now describe it. That's my final thought.
That's beautiful. And yes, I agree with you. I feel like that's how we get the universe to be more clear on our intention, and then it can show up so beautifully when it's kind of, I don't know if I shared this one with you when we chatted, but I had a similar thing with like a car. I remember for a while I really wanted a new car because I had a Suburban and it just wasn't serving me anymore. I was wasting a lot of gas, wasn't efficient. I'm like, I'm not feeling this. And I just was like, I want a new car. I really want a new car. And I did this for a couple months. And then I was like, wait a minute. I need to figure out what kind of car I want. And so I went out and just test drove cars and got to know them and play with them and try them on. And then I got very clear, like, okay, I want a pearl white Prius. And I was very specific, pearl white Prius in this range, as far as the income, how much money was going to cost, whatever. And after that, everywhere I looked when I'd be driving around town, I would see pearl white Priuses everywhere. And I'd be like, oh my God, they're everywhere. They're coming to me. And then it manifested a day where my ex-husband actually had a nice moment in his life and called me and said, I would like to take you to the car dealer and just look at cars. I hear they're having a sale at Toyota. Would you like me to help you? And I was like, yes. And so
Nice.
I go to the Toyota dealer with him, and they, on the whole lot, they had one car available in the range that I wanted to spend. And it was a pearl white one, of course. And I was like, that's my car. And so I really feel like that is so true, like getting specific, because I'll hear people be like, I really want a soulmate, or I really want, a new job, or I really want a car. And it's so vague that we have to go out and play and kind of connect and get more specific with what we really want, because then the universe can deliver it very swiftly. That's what I found.
Yep, that's absolutely true. The more specific we can get about the experience
Hmm.
that the realized goal gives us,
Yes.
then the more intuition, your subconscious, and this wonderful spiritual intelligence can show up to create the path for you to get there.
Yes. And this is where we have to be open-minded, because sometimes like it could show up as your ex-husband wanting to help you. Right? And so it's like that doesn't logically make any sense. And then I'm like, okay, my heart's saying let's do this. So this is, yeah, it's where we just learn to flow with it, and we're not in the way with our beliefs and our programs and our agendas and our limitations. That's what we have to wipe away. Would you agree?
I would. I would.
Nice. Well, we are right at 6 o'clock, almost on the dot. So, May, I could talk with you for hours because you are such a fun, high vibrational soul sister. And I just am so grateful for everything Spirit's blessing in your world. And I'm so grateful that I'm getting to know you and that my audience got to get to know you. And I hope that everyone's going to go and tune in and pick up your book and really start practicing these 7 steps, because I know it will change their life in amazing ways. And I'm just really glad that you were courageous and you created the book, and you're kind of mirroring inspiration for me to do the same. So I appreciate that nudge, Spirit.
All
So,
right. Well,
yeah, I'm
thank
like,
you so
thank you.
much, Tanya. And again, my book is The Path to Wealth, 7 Spiritual Steps for Financial Abundance. It's available at all online retailers. But if they just go to my website, they can download the first 3 chapters for free.
Awesome. And remember, it's www.maymccarthy.com, MAYMCCARTH.com.
THY.
Or sorry, THY.com. So,
Thank you so
yes.
much.
Yes, thank you, May, and keep in touch. And I wish you all the best on everything that you've got manifesting over there, sister.
All right. You too, Tanya. Take
Blessings.
care.
Thank you so much for sharing today.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. All right, guys. Whoa, that was interesting. All right, guys, we're going to sign off now for today. And I look forward to connecting with you next week. And we will see what Spirit has for us to talk about next week. So good to be back and connecting with all of you. And I wish you all a very blessed and beautiful first day of November. And I hope tonight you will practice what May was sharing and go and spend some time with Spirit and get clear on your intentions. So I wish you all the best and mwah! Blessings, blessings, and I will see you next week. Namaste.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Health In with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, The Tawnya Love Show, Your Healthy Pet with Gisela DiCarlo. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by Atomus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.